Hi guys, welcome to Algo lesson. So in this video, we are going to discuss introduction to programming language. So the basic context of this video is we are going to understand what is programming language, how we got introduced to programming language, and how our computer understand this programming language. So without further waiting, let's start with the topic. Okay, so before understanding what is programming language, there are a few important terms that need to be understand first. That is, what is computer program? So, if we go with the definition, a computer program is basically an application or a software that we use on our device, and it contains a set of instructions given to our computer to perform any task following that instruction that is given. Okay, so basically, the application or the app or the software that we install and use on our laptop or our cell phone, those are basically computer programs. And inside that application or software, there is a set of instruction written by a programmer to perform any specific task or to perform multiple tasks. So this is the basic definition of computer program. Now let's understand the second important term, that is what is programming. So basically the process of writing the instruction for the application using any programming language is known as programming, and these instructions are written by a software engineer or programmers. So basically, the application or the software contain a set of instruction, and computer follow those instruction to perform the task. And the process of writing those instruction is known as programming. For building different application, we use different programming language. Like for front-end web development, we use HTML, CSS, JavaScript. For back-end web development, we use C++, Java. So if you're not familiar with any programming language, don't worry. We are going to discuss C++ programming language in detail in our upcoming videos. Okay, so this is the basic understanding of programming and computer programs. Now, the problem that we face is that our computer that we use do not understand programming language. Now, let's see what he is saying. But I cannot understand programming language. I can only understand machine language. Okay, so the computer or the device that we are using now, they only understand machine language. So the one thing that might come to your mind, that if our computer understand machine language, then why we are even using programming language? So to understand that, we first have to understand what is machine language. Okay, so a machine language is a language that is understood by computer. It's formed using binary digits like 0 and 1, octa and hexadecimal. Okay, so if you are already familiar with what is number system, you might know what is binary, octa, and hexadecimal digits, so I'm not going deep into that. But for understanding, it is basically a series of zeros and one in machine language, and it is very difficult for a normal human to understand, read, write in machine language. How? Let's take an example and understand why it is so difficult. Imagine you want to print hello in your computer screen. Okay. Now, if you want to give this instruction to your computer using machine language, you have to write something like this. Okay, now if you see that for each alphabet or for each letter there is a series of 8 zeros and 1. For H there is 8 series of zeros and 1, like 0 1 0 0 1 0 0 0. Okay, similarly for small e there is another 8 series of zeros and 1, like this. To inform your computer to print hello in their screen, you have to write the machine language in this format. And one thing I want to make you note that we are using 8 zeros and 1 because our one character or one alphabet is taking 1 byte of memory, and 1 byte of memory contain 8 bit, so we are using 8 bit to represent one letter. Okay, so you can imagine like how much difficult it is to build an application using machine language. Just to print hello in our screen, we have to write these series. Now, if you want to perform a task using our software or application, you can imagine how difficult it is to write code using machine language. Okay, so one more problem with machine language is that any application that is built using machine language on one CPU or one computer is not going to execute or run on other computer. Okay, now let's say you build some application using on your system, and if you want to run that same application on other system, then it will not work. So you have to write different code again for different machine. So it is quite uh, frustrating just to write the same code again and again for different machine, and it is not a good idea. So you can see that why machine language is difficult for a normal human. Now, if there is a problem, there must be a solution. So we introduce a new language called assembly language. So now let's understand how assembly language is solving our problems that we are facing using machine language. So assembly language is a low-level programming language that is created to communicate directly with computer hardware. It is more readable, and the instructions are written using simple text, short abbreviations that make it easier to read and write. Okay, so if we understand an assembly language are understandable, and we are using simple text and short abbreviation to write code in assembly language. Let's see one example of assembly code. Let's say this is the three line of assembly language we have written to add number 3 and 4. Now let's understand one by one what is the meaning of these lines. This one denoting that the operation is going to begin on this line. Okay, the next move EAX comma 3. This line indicating that the value 3 should be stored in a register with a name EAX. EAX is a name we are giving to a register. Similarly, the next line is indicating that the value 4 is going to store in a register name EBX. And the third line here is saying that whatever value that is present in EAX and EBX is going to be added together, and the result is going to be stored in a register ECX. So this how a assembly language look like and how a assembly language execute the code. Okay, so this is little bit easy than machine language if we compare. And if you try to make someone understand like what are these instructions doing, then it is more easy to understand for a normal human. Now again, there is one problem we are still facing, that our computer don't understand assembly language. Our computer only understand machine language. So how we are going to solve this problem? So to solve this problem, we introduce assembler. So what is the task of assembler? Basically, assembler take the assembly code and convert it into machine code. So our computer can easily understand the machine code, and it will execute whatever instructions we are giving in assembly code. So the understanding part is resolved using assembler. But still, there are few disadvantages that is there in assembly code, that are assembly language is a low level language, and just for giving a simple instructions, we have to write a lot of instruction. It's like if you want to perform basic simple operation, then also we have to write a number of instruction in assembly language, which is not a good idea. Because if you want to build a large application, then it will take long time and effort to build that application by writing a number of instructions. The second problem with assembly language was it the program that is written for one CPU is not compatible to run on any other CPU. And this is because it might be possible that the CPU instruction set of one is not matching with other. So in that case, we have to write the assembly code again for the another CPU, which is also not a good idea. because we are just building the same application again and again for different devices. Now, these problems we are still facing with assembly language. So, how we are going to solve it? So, to solve these problems, we introduce high level languages. So, let's understand what is high level languages. A high level language are human friendly. These are easy to understand and learn by programmers. The example of high level languages are C, C++, Java, JavaScript, etc. So high level languages are basically independent of computer hardware. So what does it mean? It means that the program or the application built using high level programming language are independent of computer hardware, which means that if you are building an application on your system or on your computer, then it is going to run on another computer as well, because it is not dependent on your hardware architecture. So the problem that we have to build the same program again and again for different devices, that problem is resolved using high level language. And it was more human friendly as compared to assembly language, because in high level language we have to write lesser number of instructions to perform a simple task. Okay, now we can see that our problem that we were facing with assembly language and machine language is resolved by high level language. But again, there is one problem that we are still facing, that our computer still don't understand programming language that is also called as high level language. So in the case of assembly language, we use assembler. So what we are going to use in case of high level languages. So to translate the high level language into language that computer can understand, we use compiler and interpreter. Okay. Now let's understand what is compiler and interpreter. So basically, a compiler is a program that read and translate the source code into machine code. It produces a standalone code, executable code that can run. Okay. Now let's check the flow, like how a compiler work. Let's say we have written some source code using high level language. The compiler take that source code, compile it, and produce an executable file. And then that executable file is run on our hardware or computer, because this executable file is the file that our hardware can understand, and the instruction that is written is going to be executed by our system. Based on the instruction, we get some output in as a result. So this how a compiler work. Now let's see how an interpreter work. An interpreter is used directly to execute the program without compiling the source code. Interpreters are flexible but are less efficient, because is needed very time. It is needed every time you run the program. It means that when you are using a compiler, you compile the program, create an executable file, and whenever you are going to run the program, you don't need to compile it again and again. You can run the executable file directly. Where in case of interpreter, you run the program, or you can say you can execute the program directly without the compilation. So it means that you have to it is less efficient because you have to run it again and again. Okay, so let's understand the flow. The high level programming language is written, that source code is given to the interpreter. The interpreter interpreted it and directly run on the hardware, and based on the understanding, like what are the instruction given to the application, the hardware perform those instructions and produce a result as an output. So this is the basic working of interpreter and compiler. Okay, so that's it in this video. I have given the note in the description, so you can check that out, or you can visit our website algolism.com to get all the content related to this video. If you really like this video, subscribe to our channel and share with other people. Thank you for watching.